Saludos amigos del canal. Hoy tengo el gusto de traerles una nueva entrevista aquí en el canal y vamos a hablar primero con el profesor Itamar Grotto. Les voy a dar un poco de su biografía del profesor Grotto, que es uno de los grandes referentes de la salud pública en Israel. A lo largo, él es director o ha sido director de los servicios de salud pública, director general adjunto del Ministerio de Salud. Asimismo, entre sus logros se destaca la creación del Registro Nacional de Vacunación y la incorporación de nuevas vacunas al calendario israelí. También impulsó reformas en salud digital y ciberseguridad, y tuvo un papel clave en la respuesta a la transición silenciosa del poliovirus, en el 2013 y más tarde en toda la gestión del COVID-19. Él ha desarrollado una intensa actividad de academia, como siendo profesor de epidemiología y salud pública en la Universidad Ben Gurión, y ha participado en iniciativas innovadoras en torno al cannabis medicinal. Todo esto lo conviene en una figura central para entender cómo se diseña y se ejecuta la política de salud en Israel. Professor Grotto, thank you very much for coming. Really, thank you very much for your time. Professor Grotto, since the war escalated in October 23, Israel has been facing an unprecedented mental health crisis. I would like you to explain, first of all, what, for our viewers that they are not very familiar, what that PTSD mean.
Okay, so thank you for the opportunity. I'm following up very closely the situation of the mental health situation of the public, since I'm a public health physician, so I'm looking at the public as a whole. So we see an increase in many mental health aspects, including increase in anxiety, depression, and of course what we call PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, which means that people were affected by exposure to very severe trauma, and this was actually a national trauma in Israel, so everybody was affected. Even someone who lived in Tel Aviv, he felt very, very much insecure during the attack, and it changed everything that we thought about the situation, about the military, and so this made a big effect, stressful effect on the population, and we see an increase in the level of PTSD. PTSD is people who suffer from PTSD, they have problem to sleep at night, they feel anxiety, sometimes they cannot leave home, they cannot do many other things. They lose patience for their sibling, for the children, for the parents. So we see a lot of effect, and of course anxiety attacks, and in function, very difficult, many difficulties in functioning in the real life. So this has affected a large part of the civilian population of Israel.
I assume that when you include this large part of the population, we can include kids and teenagers here. Is the population and is the country prepared as parents, as tutors and teachers, how to deal with kids?
Well, in some areas they were more prepared for this, and they were preparedness because, for example, in the south of Israel, near the border with Gaza, there were a lot of exposure, let's say, to very people have to go to the shelter within 15 seconds to 19 seconds. So right. It was very stressful both for the parents and the children. On the other hand, this also developed tools that can help the parents and the children how to deal with the situation. So unfortunately, Israel is experienced with this. So this experience also was implemented to help the children, to help the parents. Of course, it's not helping everybody, but still there is a lot of knowledge and also knowledge which is spread among the population regarding how to deal with the children, how to deal with the parents, and etc.
If you compare, I mean, it's quite difficult to compare this, but there is any other society in the world that has experienced something like that?
Well, there were, for example, different aspects of natural disasters, like, for example, in Fukushima in Japan, or on the other hand, some exposure to military crises like we have in Ukraine and Russia. So there is, but not in such a big scale, which means the entire country is affected because we were attacked from all the sides. So almost everybody was exposed both to threats on his own life, as well as the family and the country and the situation. And so this was something very stressful. And I don't think there is another example that the whole country, is exposed. Of course, there are level of exposure and level of difficulties, and we see that people who were very close, were close exposed, had more effects. But on the other hand, still, even people who live in Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, or even Haifa, they still feel the effects of the PTSD.
I would like to pay attention to what Dr. Grotto said about what is the level of this situation that has affected to Israel so gratefully, not gratefully, but in such a severe way that almost in no other country in the world has suffered. So therefore, pay attention to this. When someone say to you, he said, the population in Israel knows how to do it. Behind the war, there are other war, and this is the war that Dr. Grotto is trying to tell us how to deal with it. Dr. Grotto, would you say that there is a percentage, could you say, if you know a percentage of the population that is affected?
Well, we have some surveys that were done in Israel among the population. We see, for example, in different surveys, the level of PTSD, according to questionnaires. People fill the questionnaire, so it could reach even 40 to 45% of the asked population. So it means it's very high. Usually these surveys are done among adults, and it's more difficult to make studies among children, but I presume among children we will see a similar picture or similar phenomena.
And would you say the part of the population that has been affected with PTSD, it's an elderly population, a young population, a middle-aged population, or is everyone in the same level?
There were different, some differences. Of course, children who are exposed are more affected because it also affected not only the level of stress, but also the way to, or the strengths and the abilities to study in school. So because if someone is stressed and suffers PTSD, then he cannot be a good pupil, and then so he also loses on this mental and this cognitive level. So it's a combination. So this is why this is the most affected. We also, of course, look at women who raise children. This is also more affected the population because some of the men were very active, and the mothers were asked to keep the children, but still this is very stressful because we know that if you are active when you are traumatized, it's better. It's one of the way of treatment. So,
of course.
So if you just stay at home and have to keep an eye on the children and things like that, this is more stressful. So this is also. And one last thing maybe that should be mentioned also, that it can take also some time. Sometimes we see the late effect. Of course, the war is almost not over yet. I don't know if it's not over, but still, it was a very long event of almost 2 years now that we are in these events. And usually it can take, sometimes we see the effects 3 to 5 years later. So this is also something that we should expect even in the future.
Right. If we talk now, maybe you can give us some information about it. We are talking about the military personnel. I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, that the Ministry of Defense Rehabilitation Department is the one that deals with this. Is this? Could you give us some idea how do they deal with them? I'm talking about all the soldiers and the reservists that have been during these 3 years or 2.5 years of war.
Yes, we see a lot of PTSD, and the Ministry of Defense is investing a lot of efforts and also resources in trying to give us solutions. It starts from prevention. I mean, for example, if someone goes out of the war, then is being also already given some exercises or how to deal with the situation to prevent later deterioration to PTSD. So this is starting from prevention, and then of course we all see on the other hand very severe cases of some veterans or soldiers who actually now are hospitalized, institutionalized in some of the psychiatric hospitals. Some of them suffer very much; they don't function, and this is a very big problem. Dealt with the good thing is also the Ministry of Defense developed and searching for a lot of new technologies, new solutions to this situation. So currently, the good things that we can say, so we now have like a live experience with a lot. We can try different solutions and see what fits the population according to age, gender, etc.
We will talk this about because this is a very interesting issue, but I want to refer that as I mentioned before, that no country in the world, or few countries in the world has experienced that. And now Dr. Grotto is going to explain how we have to develop solutions for this population, because we cannot abandon them, because they have to be among the society and to rebuild their life again. But Dr. Grotto, I assume that there has been the number of reservists with assistance, it has grown up dramatically, correct? Okay, so I also, and this is something that I have to bring because this is a reality, it has increased the number of suicide
attempts and success.
Attention.
Yes.
I assume that this is part of this situation.
Yes,
right?
this is the let's say the top of the edge, which is the people who commit suicide, which also increased among this population. But this is, of course, there are a lot of people who suffer below this level and still they have very difficult day-to-day life. So this is also very important. And one of the main challenges is that we don't have enough treatment for providers. I mean, not enough psychiatrists, not enough psychologists or other social workers who can deal with this population. So this is why we should look and develop new techniques also that will be looking and can scale up the level of services that can be given to the population.
Yes, I wanted to ask you, but you already answered about the lack of people in order to treat this part of the society. But anyhow, I read that the government has approved an emergency national mental health of 1.4 billion shekels. This is part of how the government is helping here the society. But could you tell me if you are aware of the ecosystem, the medical ecosystem that there is today in order to help these people?
Yes, we can start with different, because sometimes it's with different ministries, different activities, so it's a little bit spread. I mean, for example, there are the mental health hospital, but This is only, they treat only very minor and small numbers of this population. Usually they don't require hospitalization, so it's very, and then there are the HMOs, the Kupot Cholim in Israel, which are responsible for providing the services. So actually they did increase very much the access to, because the money that the Ministry of Health gave the HMOs, they developed new services looking also for not only sometimes if we do group therapy, then it's more efficient because we can treat 10 people with one provider. And so this is one of the things, that a lot of technologies that can be used in order so the people can work with the machine. A lot of different aspects that affect sleep, because there are a lot of sleep disturbances. So this is why we try to tailor different solutions to different populations, although it's all of them were in the military or were exposed as civilian, but still we have to develop different approach. This is also something very different culturally. So what we do in Sderot is different from what we have to do in Tel Aviv or in Haifa.
Right. So, Professor Grotto, can you explain to us what are your latest activities in order to help this population?
Yes, I'm mainly involved in the development of new drugs, new medications for mental health situation like depression, which is also because many people with PTSD suffer. About 50% of them also have depression. So this is something, and this treatment, which is now increasingly interesting the Israeli medical population and also the entire population, is the use of what we call psychedelics, which means that medications that are psychoactive. Some of them are known as drugs like LSD, MDMA. Some of them I'm using in mushroom like psilocybin, ibogaine. So this is new treatment that we're trying to develop. I myself, I'm chairing a company which is going into a clinical trial with ibogaine, which is sourced from Africa many years ago, was used in France for many years and then stopped use, but now seems as one of the promising solutions to mental health activities. We know also that in a study that was done in the US, and people were treated with ibogaine, they had a relief with PTSD symptoms.
Right.
I mean, American veterans. So this is something which is, and of course, this is something which is not only for the Israeli population, but for the entire world.
Right. So it's this what Professor Grotto is telling us. Is part of this progress and part of the way people and professionals in this country are trying to help the people here. I understand, coming back to the civil population, is the civil population in a way feeling that not only the help that they receive, but the time, everything together is trying to fix the problem of those you gave like 2 to 4 years to fix the problem. Do you think that there is some sort of release, some sort of people are getting better?
I think we see some of these signs already in many places. I mean, also even in the area very close to the border where they were affected, because, for example, we see an increase in the number of people who come to live there. I mean, the people who live now in this area are larger than it was before October 7th. So this is one thing that means that people has the resilience also to come. So I think this is something that people in Israel, because unfortunately we are used to many disasters and emergency situations, the resilience is relatively high. We see a lot of places where we see development, but on the other hand, those who will not, keep in this shape and keep in the side, these one are the one who I mentioned before that we will have to see in 3-4 years. People who now they look normal, everything is normal, but it will take some time until we see the effects, because also the population is also expecting everybody to be strong and resilient.
But tell me something, Professor Grotto. When someone it comes with a medical situation of PTSD, who is the first one that receives it? Is it psychologist, or which group of people deal with one person?
Okay, so it depends. Sometimes it could be because, as we said before, number of psychiatrists, number of psychologists is not enough. So now many of them see different alternative treatments which are, like people going in the forest and doing forest therapy, other different types of therapy which you don't need as a specialist. So many people will limit these solutions.
Group technology.
On the other hand, of course, some people will have to go to psychologists and psychiatrists. We see also an increase in the number of medications that people take in the country. So this is also means that people were going also to psychiatrists, or sometimes even the family practitioner in Israel, a family physician is also sometimes has a lot of knowledge, and he can also subscribe this kind of medication. So this is something which we also see definitely an increase also in the uptake of these medications.
And do you think that people, especially soldiers that they are severely injured, I assume that they need this type of treatment, right? Because you see on the television, that they are all hurt and injured, and then after a time they come out of the hospital and you think, oh, thank God, they are okay now. But I assume that they are not okay.
This is a specific population because those who are injured physically, but now we know that the injury is not only physical, it's also mental. So also these people are getting a lot of mental assistance and mental help. There are also a lot of soldiers and civilians who were not injured but still suffer from PTSD.
Right.
So this also can be, and sometimes we know that from some figures, for example, we know that according to the number of from the military, of every one injured, there are about 10 people with PTSD. So you can understand the ratio.
I see. Professor Grotto, I think you have given us a picture of what's going on with this issue in Israel. But anyhow, if some sort of new help or whatever it comes out, will be, or the viewers will be very happy to know about it, because although they don't have in overseas, they don't have this sort of problem, but people in this channel is very interested in all these sort of changes.
And of course, the mental health situations in many countries is not. There are difficulties because of the modern life. So it's not only having exposed to war. So I hope this solution that will come from Israel to the world.
Right. Professor Grotto, thank you very much for your time. It was a pleasure being here. And I hope in the future we can meet in a different circumstances like today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.